With the overwhelming amount of injuries that Zion Williamson has faced throughout his career, it looks like the New Orleans Pelicans are finally ready to cut ties with the former #1 overall draft pick. And with the Pelicans finishing 21-61, their odds of getting a new young superstar is the highest they've been since drafting Williamson. And with him averaging 25 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, this may be the highest his trade value will ever be again. So in this episode of At the Buzzer Sports, we're going to be talking about some teams that perfectly fit Zion Williamson and some teams that can change their trajectory with acquiring him this offseason. I think Zion Williamson has been performing at the level of a top 20 player in basketball this season. Once again, he's averaging 25.7 rebounds and 5 assists, and he's creating rim pressure better than almost anybody in the NBA. And I know when you look at Zion Williamson, one of the biggest concerns may be the health problem and the fact that he's not going to give you 75 plus games a season consistently. And in this episode, there are 4 teams that I'm going to be talking about that I think Zion Williamson could really elevate into a contender. And even if it's not a contender, because there is one team that I don't think he elevates into a contender, I think they have something building here that could be very pivotal to what they're trying to do over the next couple of years. First thing I want to talk about with Zion Williamson is how he's so good at finding a lane to the rim when it doesn't look like the lane is there, on top of being able to finish at almost any angle from the basket. So here he's going to be bringing the ball up the floor, and you're going to see he's going to swing the ball to Jordan Hawkins. Now, you have the smaller player guarding him in this scenario, but he's going to get the ball and they're going to switch Scotty Barnes onto him. Zion Williamson does a really good job at turning the corner, even though it doesn't look like there's much of a corner to turn, because he just does a really good job at getting low and finding a way to get to the rim. So here he's going to get to the rim and he's going to create a really good angle to finish around the basket, even though this is a really good contest here from Scotty Barnes. He finishes high at the glass and he knocks down the shot. The ball is touching the top of the backboard, and he has the touch and the angle for it to fall consistently. This is another thing where I talk about how spacing isn't always just 3-point shooting. Now you're going to see Zion Williamson is in the corner here guarded by Miles Bridges, and they're going to give Zion Williamson a pretty big gap on the ball. And I just don't think this is a good decision, because Zion Williamson with a full head down to the basket and a full head of steam to the basket is just something you can't stay in front of. So here, Trey Murphy's going to swing the ball to the corner, and Zion Williamson has all this space to build up steam and get to the rim. And once he gets to the rim, it's just, you're not going to be able to just put a body in front of him, or it's going to be a blocking foul, or he's going to find a way to get to the rim anyway. So here, you have to be up on Zion to stop that head of steam and try and really take away him getting all the way to the restricted area. And they don't do that, and he's able to just get to the rim here. You see the burst, you see the athleticism, he goes by Miles Bridges pretty quickly, and now he has a good lane to the rim. And I don't necessarily know if teams are ever going to really adjust to that, because I think teams are constantly getting killed by gapping on Zion when he's building that full head of steam to the basket, where you should have one of your bigger players on him and they should be hugging him at the perimeter, because once he gets the ball, he's going to create a head of steam. So it's better to have a body on him to try and take away that head of steam to make it much harder for him to get to the rim. But I just don't think they're doing that. I think the same thing could be said about Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you're going to let guys like Giannis and Zion build head of steams to the basket, you're going to get a free throw, you're going to get a bucket, or you're going to get an assist out of those players. So either way, you have a guy that's providing spacing, finishing at the rim, getting to the rim effortlessly. He's gotten a lot better with his floater, so now he doesn't have to get all the way to the rim or right under the rim to be effective. He's also shooting a very effective floater. So with all that being said, we're going to be getting into the first team I would like to see Zion Williamson on, and that's the Portland Trail Blazers. The Portland Trail Blazers have shown so much this season, even though they didn't make the play-in. I think they made a major improvement this season. The defense has gotten a lot better. You have a guy like Donovan Clingan, who I think is going to be one of the better defensive centers in the NBA. If he can just get better with his fouling and his footwork in space, I think he's going to be an all-NBA, all defensive caliber type of big in the near future. But the duo that excites me the most is Zion and Deni Avdija. Deni Avdija has done such a great job at being a grab-and-go player that can play in transition. Zion Williamson is one of the best transition players in the NBA. You have a guy like Deni Avdija who can get to the rim off of catches and attacking closeouts and play really well off ball, whether that's cutting, being a roll man, being a ball handler in the pick and roll. I think his rim pressure is phenomenal, and I think both of their playmaking could be really good as well. Over the last 25 games of Deni Avdija's season, he's averaging 22 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists on 40% shooting from 3 on 5.5 attempts a game. And I think it's pretty comfortable to say that Deni has been their best player. And you also have tradable assets. You have guys like Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton that could be moved for other players that can fit around this front court. And with the improvement of Scoot Henderson, which is going to be game by game, week by week, month by month, I think you'll really be having something brewing with the Portland Trail Blazers, and I think they're going to be a lot better. And I'm really trusting this duo of interior playmaking and finishing around the rim and rebounding with Deni, Zion, and Donovan Clingan to where you can build a really good defense, a team that constantly creates rim pressure. And if Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson can hit their outside shots, be positive playmakers and positive outside scorers, this Portland Trail Blazers team is going to make immense improvement. I just want everybody to really point their attention to Deni Avdija, who's right here, and how he runs in transition. Just look at how fast he moves in transition when the ball is in open floor. So here, the Sixers are going to run an inbound play. I think that's Gershon Yabusele. He's going to miss the shot pretty badly, and Chris Murray's going to get the rebound. Look at Deni Avdija. He's already full sprint. Once it looks like his player or his teammate is going to secure the rebound, Deni Avdija's just burst when he gets out into the open floor is amazing. Look how fast he's running. Gets the ball, and he's just going. He's just going. Imagine how good that would look with Zion Williamson and Deni Avdija running in this transition. There's going to be so many lobs, so many free throw attempts. They're going to be one of the best transition offenses in the NBA. So once again, imagine if Robert Williams is Zion Williamson. Deni's going to bring the ball up. He's going to receive the screen from Robert Williams, and he gets extremely low, and it's just like an explode. He's going to get to the rim, shot fake, he takes the contact pretty well, and he still finishes. Imagine if there's a rolling Zion Williamson with a head of steam to the basket, and you're going to have to pick either Deni Avdija or Zion Williamson. Which one are we going to contain in this possession? And either way, I think both of these guys can convert at a level that some duos just can't in the pick and roll, and I think that's going to make their offense way better. Now, do I think this team is going to instantly become a contender? No, but do I think they have the young talent and the young assets to move around to where they can build a pretty bright future and they could be put into tiers like the Rockets with some of their young talent and how they can progress in the future? Because we have to remember, Zion Williamson is only about 24, 25 years old. He still has a lot of basketball left if he can stay healthy. I think that's the only thing that a lot of teams are going to look at and say, you know what, maybe we want to stay off Zion. The next team I'm going to be talking about is the Indiana Pacers. Now, let's talk about this team. This is a trade package from a friend of the channel, Tyler from Hoop Venue. In this trade, the Pelicans would get Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Jarace Walker, and 2 first-round picks. The Pacers would get Zion Williamson, Michael Porter Jr., Christian Brown, and Peyton Watson, as the Nuggets get Pascal Siakam and Ben Shepherd. And this is a trade where I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, why would they trade Pascal Siakam, who's been really good this season and is an all-star, for a Zion Williamson who can't stay on the floor? And I know this is probably what makes the trade so much more tricky, because you're losing somebody in Pascal Siakam who you already gave up so much for to get a guy in Zion Williamson who you don't know if he's going to play consistently. But if Zion Williamson can give you a 75-game season, I think that takes the Pacers offense to a higher level of what they're trying to do, because you have a Tyrese Halliburton, a Zion Williamson, and a Miles Turner that can create advantages. You have floor spacing, you have half court, you have the transition play. I think this becomes one of the best transition offenses in the NBA. You have Tyrese Halliburton, who can also move off ball, and Zion Williamson, who we just described earlier, can also provide floor spacing. And I just think a half court that has shooters at every position, with Zion Williamson working in the middle and having one of the best decision makers in the league in Tyrese Halliburton, especially off movement, this offense is going to be the best in the league. The next team I think Zion Williamson will work really well with is the Houston Rockets. And with the Houston Rockets, with their offensive rebounding, their transition play, creating the possession advantage, I think Zion Williamson would really fit in what they're trying to do. They have a multitude of players that can get to the rim and can be really good interior passers, and I think Zion Williamson really plays into that aspect perfectly well. You have Amen Thompson, who can play in the dunker spot, play well in transition, and finish around the rim, and has a great floater. You have Alperen Sengun, who can be a really good interior passer and a good finisher around the rim when he wants to be. And if you add Zion Williamson, who can get to the rim effortlessly and finish around the rim really well, I think that makes this offense 10 times better, and that's something that the Houston Rockets need. Because I know a lot of people look at the Houston Rockets and they're going to say, this is a team that needs three-point shooting, and Zion Williamson does not provide that. I think Zion Williamson does provide that spacing once again, because we talked about it earlier in the episode. You're not going to be able to sag off of Zion in the half court, because he's going to create that head of steam and get to the basket regardless. So if you could just put a big body in front of him to kind of take that away and make it a lot harder for him, that makes it more effective to how he's trying to play. And last but not least, the team I'm going to be talking about is the Detroit Pistons. And with the Detroit Pistons making the improvement that they have made this season, it's only right for them to go out and get their second star. And with Zion Williamson on the board, I think this is perfect. You can put Zion Williamson in so many different actions. You can run a Jalen Duren and Zion Williamson pick and roll, where Jalen Duren can be a lob threat or a short roll candidate and dump it off to lobs to Asura Thompson in the dunker. That spaces out the defense, and it puts a lot of big bodies in space that can get downhill and finish at the rim. You can also run a Cade and Zion pick and roll, to where Zion can make short roll decisions and throw lobs for Jalen Duren, or be really good in floater range, and you also have to be worried about Cade Cunningham as a pull-up shooter. There's just so many different avenues that the Detroit Pistons can go with adding Zion Williamson onto this team, and I think the possibilities are endless. And with Cade only getting better and getting that playoff experience, having Zion next to him can also relieve a lot of non-Cade minutes for playoff opportunities or in the regular season, where Zion Williamson can be point Zion a lot more, and you'll have a multitude of shooters and guys like Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. and whoever these guys grab in free agency. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 4 teams that I think would really improve if they were to acquire Zion Williamson. This is a video I've been trying to do for a while, but the NBA playoffs have just been crazy. And if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notification bell and be notified when I drop my videos. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.